Services, West Coast Environmental Law, and also BC Water and Waste Association, where I serve as the chair of the Water Sustainability Committee. How many of us here today were also here in Delta 2 weeks ago? Okay, a few of us. Okay. Well, this is really a repeat of the presentation that we gave in Delta. I'll try and go through it quickly, but I think it bears repeating because it sort of sets the context for how we got here today and what we're going to be doing. Convening for action to change the way that we develop land, designed with nature. I think it's a bit of a mouthful, but the intent behind this title is that convening for action. I think we've all attended workshops and seminars where we kind of sit there all day. We take in some information and it's great, but we then go back to our usual day jobs and we just kind of get on with life. I think what we're trying to do here today is when we say we're getting together, when we're convening, we're not just convening just for the sake of taking something in. We want to take something in today because we want to take action. We want to make a difference. And the difference is to change the way that we develop land and to design with nature. Green infrastructure. What do we mean when we say green infrastructure? What do we mean when we say design with nature? For those of you who have a background in landscape architecture or planning, you're familiar, you know that we're borrowing a page from Ian McHarg's 1969 book, Design with Nature. And so, I mean, certainly what we're talking about here today is consistent with that. Things like ecological planning, letting the landscape inform the development. I think in practical terms, what design with nature means is really almost like a restatement of smart growth principles. What we found when we've spoken to people is that when we use the word smart growth, that sometimes it's highly charged and it's kind of political. I mean, no one wants to do dumb growth. But, when you read into smart growth, people already get their backs up because they think it's going to be density. It's all about density. And so what we found when we talked with people is that the term designing with nature, people kind of seem to inherently understand more. But when we talk about design with nature, really we're talking about developing compact and complete communities, increasing transportation options, reducing the loads on water and energy systems, protecting and restoring green space, striving for a lighter hydrologic footprint, and achieving higher levels of receiving water protection. And certainly when we were in Delta, we saw examples of that. But today as well, when we're looking at the three examples and looking at greenways and looking at some of these developments, we're primarily focusing on the bottom three. So how did we get here? This initiative was started and it was supported or endorsed by REACT, the Regional Engineers Advisory Committee at GVRD. And they supported a consultation workshop that we held in May of 2005. At that time we were wondering, should we simply, together as a group, write more green design standards and kind of leave it at that? And what we heard from that group at that consultation workshop was that, yeah, the green design standards would be good, but they're kind of a given. And the last thing we need is just stuff that we can kind of just stick off on a shelf. And what that group's, when we first got together and we started off with introducing each other and things that we were doing, one of the things that came out was that even though we were all neighbors and we worked in neighboring municipalities, a lot of us were so busy that we simply didn't know what was going on in the region and what our colleagues were up to and some of the projects and the pilots that we're trying to get off the ground. And a lot of people just said, wow, you guys are doing that? I didn't know that. And here's what we're doing. The other thing that came out of it was that those of us in local government really find ourselves stretched. And when we're trying to do these innovative projects, they're often on the corner of our desks. And so so the intent was that, well, you know, maybe what we should do is get together and talk about it and see what you've done and essentially help each other out. And so because it's hard doing that as an individual, and if you're trying to champion something, we know it's lonely, and so the intent of these sessions is really to help you out, to innovate, to showcase the innovation, and to share with each other. So the goal is to build capacity as a whole, as a region, by sharing our knowledge, sharing green infrastructure approaches, our experiences, our lessons learned, as a result of trying to do these things that are encapsulated by design for nature principles. The format that we've adopted, and for those who've been here before, you'll know this, we're going to be spending the morning looking at a series of presentations as a case study where the people involved in these projects are going to speak about it. And then in the afternoon, we're actually all going to climb on a bus, or is it going to be a bus?
It'll be a bus.
Okay. And we're actually going to go out to these locations and we're going to take a look at it. And in fact, what happens is that a lot of the questions don't come out when we're here sitting in a sort of a lectures format, but when we're out in the field and we actually see it, and we see the things that are going on, then we ask the questions, oh, well, how do you guys deal with this problem? Or what do you guys do here? And so it's very interactive. And we'll be going out together in the afternoon and taking a look at the projects. This is the second year that we've been doing this. Last year was the first year that we went and did the Showcasing Innovation series. And we really appreciate the GDRD's, the Stormwater Interagency Liaison Group, and the funding that we received from them last year as well as this year to basically get this thing organized. Last year we had also 3 municipalities. We went to District of North Vancouver first. We saw a lane that was using pervious asphalt. We looked at some of the drainage features that were along the Dolgen Highway, and then we also visited the Eco-Industrial Business Park in the Maple Woods Flats. And then in June last year we took a look at, we focused on Surrey, and we went to East Clayton, looked at Campbell Heights, looked at the Fergus Creek ISMP watershed project. And then last September, we went out to UBC and took a look at their Sustainability Street. And we also went and saw some City of Vancouver projects, the Country Lanes projects, as well as the Crown Street projects. As the attendance of these things are attesting, we believe that the series is resonating with people because it enables municipal staff, local governments to tell their stories that I don't believe that anyone else is really trying to organize and put together. And from the success in the 2006 series, we actually are able to pull off a 2007 series on Vancouver Island. And so we've been alternating. And so this week on the Lower Mainland, what we've been doing is that we went to Delta 2 weeks ago. We took a look at the rain gardens, took a look at their urban forest. And then today we've got the Langley program, and then we're also going to have another session 2 weeks from now that you're all invited to. And we're going to take a look at Burnaby and the University project up there, and we're really looking forward to that. And then meanwhile, concurrently on Vancouver Island, we're doing the same sort of thing. In early September, we went to Nanaimo, and for those that that can go, we held an event a couple of weeks ago in Cowichan, in the Cowichan Valley,